Hi guys, in this video I'm going to address the question, should I cut or should I bulk? Okay, so there seems to be a common misunderstanding within the fitness room with individuals and themselves whether they should be in a cutting phase or a bulking phase, or whether they're trying to achieve both at the same time simultaneously. The reality is it's much better to focus on one goal at a time. You should then set a block of time to achieve that goal. Try and minimise the negative effects of doing that. So for example, if your goal is going to be muscle growth, there is obviously going to be some fat gain within that allotted time. The goal is trying to minimise that and obviously maximise the muscle growth within that allotted time. Conversely, if your goal is fat loss, you're trying to minimise the negative effects of dieting, so losing muscle, you're trying to minimise that as much as possible, but at the same time trying to lose as much body fat as possible. So regards to achieving both of these simultaneously, I've already addressed this in another video, but just very quickly, this can only happen in a few circumstances. One, an absolute beginner who starts weight training is going to have some body recomposition. Second person, someone returning from a layoff, so someone who doesn't train for a few months then starts training again. But the reality is, for the vast majority of you, should really be focusing on one goal at a time. So I'm going to give you kind of some ballpark body fat percentages to try and almost take the emotion out of the decision, be a bit more objective with your decision making. So for example, if you are over kind of 15 to 18% body fat for a male, it probably is a smart move to go into a dieting phase. I'd suggest working all the way up to anywhere around 10%, maybe a little bit higher than that. Having 2 weeks where you consume the same macros calories to essentially allow your metabolic rate to stabilise, and then you're going to slowly walk up calories, coupled with increasing your training volume, which will help with hypertrophy. However, it's important to know, I know I discussed this before, I know this is kind of Lyle McDonald's thinking it should be based on kind of body fat percentages. However, when I went to the Alan Aragon conference last year, Alan brought up a good point, and he almost said you should just allow yourself to get as fat as you like, which is, I think is a fair point, but at the same time, I'd only maybe suggest that for an advanced individual. For an absolute kind of intermediate train, it's worth working in a percentages so they don't put on too much body fat. However, for an advanced trainee, that could be the case. Just allow them to get as fat as they'd like, because they're advanced and intuitive and knowledgeable enough to therefore be able to transition and lose the body fat when they need to. With regards to muscle growth, it's important to be realistic. If you're a natural trainee, it's going to be a slow process. So that the typical kind of 1 pound muscle gain per week is just not realistic. And if you really think about it, that would be 52 pounds gained throughout the year. Do you really think if you did that as a natural, that's all going to be muscle? Quite obviously not. It's going to be large amounts of body fat within there. So I personally think if you've got under 2 years of weight training, 0.5 pounds per week is probably a good starting point. As soon as you get past 2 years of weight training to kind of the intermediate to advanced, it really can be an exceptionally slow process. And Eric Helms has some good points on this. One of the points he makes is once you get to that advanced level, it's more about focusing on gym performance rather than trying to gain weight on the scale. And if you do that over an extended period of time, you're going to see some structural changes. So if you've got kind of 2-3 years plus of weight training experience, you've already got a very solid foundation under your belt. In my opinion, that's a better way to focus on. Focus on gym performance, not trying to increase your body weight too much, trying to stay within a relatively small window of body fat percentage. So I wouldn't allow yourself to go anywhere above kind of 15%. And really focus on getting stronger, adding more volume, tracking your volume of your workouts. Secondly, for females, if you're anywhere above 24 to 27% body fat, I'd again suggest going into a cutting phase, get well under 20% body fat, and then you can do the same thing. Consume 2 weeks, consuming the same macronutrients, calories, allow your metabolic rate to adjust, then you're going to slowly walk up calories coupled with increasing training volume. With regards to fat loss, a ballpark figure to aim for is going to be 0.5 to 1% weight loss per week. Obviously, if you've got more body fat to lose, I'd err on the 1% mark, and if you're an advanced trainee whose body fat is already very low, aim for the lower end, 0.5%. And obviously the degree will vary depending on how much body fat you've got to lose. So the leaner you get, the less amount of body weight you're going to lose per week, and obviously the more body fat you've got to lose is going to be greater. So it's just important to note, but that's a very good ballpark starting point, 0.5 to 1% weight loss per week. So I hope you found this useful. This should just give you a couple of ballpark figures to work from. Just realise if you're past the beginner phase, you've got kind of 2-3 years plus weight training experience, it's better to focus on gym performance and not increasing the weight on the scale as much as, say, if you're a ranked beginner. So ranked beginner, 0.5 pounds per week is probably a good starting point. However, it really depends on the individual, and you're going to have to just measure how much body fat you're gaining and then adjust your caloric intake from there. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Have a good day. Thank you very much.